started with the software section, I just wanted to show you real quick here the finished project so you get an idea of what's going on here. And if you look, say, in the lower left-hand corner, you'll see an applique flower there. And that is repeated 4 times to make one big block and then 4 times again to make another big block. What we're going to be doing is creating one of those, but you'll actually be stitching out 8 identical blocks and then stitching them together to complete the flower table topper. So you're going to see basically an 1/8 of this tonight, and you'll duplicate it. So I'm going to go ahead and close that presentation, and we're going to go right into my decorative quilter. So when you open my decorative quilter, you'll get this My Floriani Today screen. And if you look right over here, there's a window here with the Applique Flower Table Runner project. It's our June 2014 project, so it's already up there. And what you'll want to do first thing when you want to work on this project is you'll want to download the project. You do that by clicking on the window there, and you'll get another window. And you'll want to come here and click Install the Current Month Project. You'll get this little dialog box from Windows, and I like to just go ahead and run it. So you can click Run, and you'll get a little security scan warning. You'll get a little warning from Windows saying, do you want to run this? And you want to say yes. And when you do that, you'll get this little window here that says press OK to install the June 2014 Mdq project. Click OK, and it just takes a second. It was that fast it installed it on your computer. But it's real important to download this and install it because there's a PDF instruction sheet that you're going to want to follow along with as you create the project. And there's some parts of the project that we didn't have time to actually present tonight given our short time frame, so you will need those instructions to complete the project. So once you've downloaded it, then you can follow along. And I'm going to present the video tonight, as is my fashion, assuming that you have the printed instructions there with you as well, and that you'll be able to follow along both with the video and the printed instructions and your software. So this webinar will be recorded so you can see the video. The way you'll want to get to that is click this link down here, Live Webinars with the Mdq Experts. So you want to click that link. New web page will open, and you'll want to scroll down a little bit or make your window. This is the link you'll want to click right here. This is where you signed up for the webinar we have now, but after this is over, this will become a previous webinar, and in a day or two, the video will be available through this link. I'm going to close that now, and you're going to start by creating a new design. So you're going to click here on the Create the New Design window, and you'll get the My Decorative Quilter blank window. Now, I like to use in My Decorative Quilter a window that has no visible grid. If you prefer the grid, it's real easy to turn on and off. Just come over here to your grid icon and simply click it, and you'll get your grid. If you don't want to use the grid, just click it again and it'll go away. So let's start by checking our workspace to make sure we're all on the same page with all of our settings so everything works the way I'm describing it. The first thing you want to do is make sure you're in inches mode. You can come right up here and look right here on the ruler and see that you're in inches. If you're not, you'll want to right-click on the ruler and change from metric to inches. So that's the first step. The next step is we want to make sure that our editing controls are correct. So we're going to come up here to our Tools, click Tools, click General Options, and then when that window opens, you'll want to come down here to the Grid Settings. So click the Grid icon. You want to make sure that Snap to Grid is turned off, so it's not checked. Next, you'll want to click on the Digitizing icon here and make sure that you're in Simple Draw mode. Now, if you haven't changed it from the default, you will be, but just double check that you're in Simple Draw mode, and then just simply click OK to close that window. And now we're going to start working on this block. Before we load the block, I just want to tell you real quick that we're going to take a block that was set up to be pieced so the block was, each part of the block was a piece of fabric. Excuse me. And we're going to convert that to an applique block instead. So we're going to be doing some special things with it. We're going to start with a pieced flower block. So in order to do that, you want to click Select Block. You want to come down here on the left, find the Pieced Flowers folder, click it, and these little thumbnails of what the blocks look like will come up. We're going to use the Buttercup Nosegay, which is the first block in the second row. So you're going to click that to select it, and then click OK. Go ahead and leave it at the default size of 8 by 8, and click OK, and it'll bring in that block. Now I said that we're going to make this into an applique, so these pieces here, the beige pieces, they are not going to be fabric that's pieced. So what we need to do is we need to create a background fabric that these other pieces, which will become our applique pieces, can attach to. So we're going to do that by creating a background fabric piece, and we're going to do that by first selecting our artwork tool. So you want to click the drop-down arrow by the artwork tool and select the rectangle. And I'm going to draw a square around the outside of this. Now there's two things I'm going to do. Number one is I'm going to come up here to the left and above my block, and I'm going to drag a square down to the bottom here. But I want a square, so to get a perfect square, I'm going to hold down the Control key while I click and drag. Now you cannot see me holding down the Control key, but I am. So I'm going to hold down the Control key, click and drag, just get that square outside the other one. The important thing here is to let up on the mouse before you let up on the Control key. If you do that backwards, this will snap back to a rectangle. And you want to come over now and select the Select tool here, and that will automatically select that artwork block that we just made. And what we're going to do now is make sure that it's the proper size. So we're going to come over here to our Transform icon, click that icon, and where I created it was 8.45 inches, but we need it to be 9. Make sure Maintain Aspect Ratio is checked here, and come into the top and type in a 9. It will automatically change the bottom. That's what happens when Maintain Aspect Ratio is checked. And you want to click Apply, and we'll get a 9-inch square. Now, it went out beyond the edges of our view screen here. Remember that double-clicking your Zoom tool is a shortcut way to get back to everything on the screen. So it's a shortcut for Fit to Screen. So I'm going to double-click that to get everything back on the screen. What we're going to do now is we are going to make sure that this block is centered. And I left out a step. This will be in your instructions. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to select everything except this outside block. And I'm going to click over here so I don't click it. I'm going to draw a box around the inside so that everything is selected. And I need to group this. If I didn't do that and I tried to center everything, all of these little pieces would fly into the center, and we don't want that to happen. We want to treat this as a whole block. So now I'm going to select everything, and I'm going to click all items over here in my sequence view to select everything. Now that's just one of the many ways that you can select everything. You could also draw a box around everything, kind of like what I just did. You can also come up to the Edit menu, and you can do a Select All, or you can use that Windows shortcut of Control-A. But I'm going to use this method right now of selecting all items by clicking all items in the sequence view. And now we're going to make sure everything is centered. We do that by clicking once on our horizontal center align icon, and then again on our vertical center align icon. And now our background fabric is centered perfectly with the rest of the block. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to select that outside block, and we are going to need to make a copy of it because we're going to convert this into two different things. So we're going to come up here and click our copy icon, and then we're going to paste that copy right there. And now our second artwork piece is automatically selected. We're going to change that to match our background fabric, which is this ivory color here, which is color number 10. So we're going to come in here and we are going to right-click on it, and that will convert our background fabric to color number 10. And we're going to come up here and we're going to move it to the back because we want it to be in the background. So it's already selected. We're going to move it to the back by clicking on Move to Back, and then we're going to fill it so that it looks like the background fabric. So we're going to click the Fill icon right here and click Apply, and that'll create background fabric in the back. So we're going to come back over here to our sequence view now, and we're going to click on the third item, which is color number 10. Now these are our extra little blocks over here. When we click on that, look what happened. It selected everything. That's because earlier we grouped that entire block. So we don't want to select everything. We want to select part of it. So we're going to come up here right now, click Ungroup, and then we're going to go back and click again on the third item. And this is going to select all these beige blocks, all these beige pieces that we don't need. Now that we've got them selected, we're just going to delete them. And we're going to do that by clicking on our cut icon. Okay? We're going to come back here, and for some reason it did not make a copy when I told it to. And I just realized this. So we're going to make another copy now. So we're going to make another copy, and we're going to paste it again. Okay, now we have two. To make this the way it will be in your directions, I'm going to just quickly change the color to deep blue on that last one, and that's a filled piece of artwork now. But we're going to convert that into a run stitch. So I'm going to convert to run, and now it's going to go away. And we are going to now move this so that it stitches out first. Now when you're following along with the printed instructions, it'll be down here at the bottom if it copies correctly. And right now ours is here, but the same thing's going to happen. We're going to move it to the back, so we're just going to click Move to Back. And that's because what we just created is a run stitch that's going to go around the whole block. And that run stitch is going to be what tacks down our background fabric to the padding. And so it needs to stitch out first. And so we've got that in position now, and now we're back on track. Now what we want to do is resize this whole block, which is currently 9 inches now. We're going to resize it so it actually fits in a 200 millimeter hood, which is about 7.87 inches. They call it 8, but it's really neat to be about 7.87 to make sure it fits. So to resize everything all together, once again, we're going to click on All Items. We're going to click our Transform box. We're going to come in here and we're going to select the top one. We're going to type in 7.87, and we're going to click Apply, and that's going to resize our block so that it sizes correctly. What we're going to do now is we're going to create the quilting stitches in our background fabric, and we don't want the quilting stitches to go through where our applique is going to be, so we're going to use our Combine icon to do that. In order to do that, we need to create an outline that goes around our applique pieces so that we can knock out behind them. So in order to do that, we're going to click on all of those pieces, and the simplest way to do that is to come over to the sequence view and select color number 9, which is our flower, and then select color number 11. But hold down the Control key before you click on color number 11. Holding down the Control key lets us select multiple items. So you can see now we have all of our pieces that will eventually become our applique pieces all selected. We now need to create an outline around them. What you want to do is right-click somewhere in the design and select Create Outline. And when you do that, you're going to get this little dialog box that comes up, and the default distance is 0.08 inches, but we want it to hug the edges of our applique pieces perfectly. So we're going to just type a 0 in there and make it 0 inches away and click OK. And that's going to create a piece of artwork, and you can see that it got created down here at the bottom, and it's already selected. And what we're going to do now is we're going to select the background. and that's color number 10 right up here. So we need to select them both so that we can combine them and knock out the background. So I'm going to hold down the Control key one more time and click on color number 10. And now that we've done that, our combine icon is lit up. So if I go ahead and click right here, it's going to knock out the background behind. Now you really can't see that, and you definitely don't need to do this next step when you're actually doing the project, and it won't be in your printed instructions, but I'm going to do it just so you can see that it actually happened. I'm just going to select our flower and our stem and leaves again by control clicking these two items. I'm just going to drag them out of the way so you can see that it did knock out the background here so you can see what's going on. I'm going to use my undo key to put it back in place. That makes sure that it goes back in place perfectly. And remember that undo is your friend a lot. What we're going to do now is we're going to rotate this block so that the point is up here at the top of the screen. And the reason that we're going to do that is because the stippling or the, actually we're going to use a shape echo, but our quilting stitches that come into this design, they have a point on point like that. We want them all to line up. When we bring that stitch in, you'll see what we're talking about. But to rotate the whole thing, come back and click on all items one more time. And then we're just going to rotate it to the left 45 degrees by clicking our rotate left icon. And you can see that it rotated it there. Let me double click it again so it all fits on the screen. I'm double clicking the zoom tool so you can see everything. And what we're going to do now is click on the second item in our sequence, which is our background fabric, color number 10. And we're going to convert that to our shape echo stitches. To do that, we're going to come up here to our shape echo icon, click on it. We're going to use shape number 16, and you can see what I'm talking about here. The points of this are on point like an on-point diamond. We want that to line up with our block, so we rotated our block to match this, and we're going to click OK, and that's going to bring in that background. Now it's going to come in at a very, very tight density, and doesn't look like it brought the correct background in. Nope, I must have clicked on the wrong shape. Let me undo that and try it one more time. I want to click on shape number 16 and click OK. Don't know why it brought in the wrong shape, but it did. It's probably an artifact of the presentation software. Okay, there's the correct shape. And what we're going to do now is change two things here. First, we're going to change the stitch length to 3 millimeters from 4, and that's going to give us better definition on our curves with a shorter stitch length. But this is way too dense for what we want to do. So we're going to come in here, we're going to change our density to 25, and we're going to click Apply. And when that actually applies, now you can see that we've got a much better density going on here. We've got a pattern that lines up with the points on our block. Now we want to rotate the block back to where we had it. So once again, we're going to click on all items. We're going to click rotate right this time to get it to go back the way we want. And I'm going to double click that zoom icon one more time to get a little bit bigger size so it's a little bit easier for you to see. We're going to customize the block now. We're going to change some of the colors of our applique pieces to create just a little bit more interest. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to click on the plus sign on color number 9 here, the Misty Rose color. So we're going to open that up so we can select the artworks for those particular blocks individually. And we want to click on the last artwork, which should be index number 6, to select this little square block up here in the top. And we're going to change that to color number 5 in our palette. So come over here to the palette and right-click on color number 5 to change that to that yellow color. We're also going to change the very first artwork, which is the larger square. We're going to change that to color number 4, this Indian Navajo orange. And we're going to right-click on color number 4 to change that one. And lastly, we're going to change the stem down here. To do that, we're going to click the plus icon to expand color number 11 at the bottom of our sequence view. And we are going to click on the first artwork, which is color number 7, to select this particular piece. We're going to change this to this spring green color here by right-clicking on color number 3. So now we've got some better looking colors, and the next thing we want to do with this design is we want to make sure that it stitches out in an order that makes some sense. And what we want to do is we want to stitch out this little yellow block first, we want to stitch out the orange block second, and then we're going to stitch out these guys, and then these guys, and last we're going to stitch out the stem. And so we need to move some things around in the sequence view in order to do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to find the stem, which is color number 11, and we're going to drag it above color number 3, because that's where we want it to stitch out. So what you're going to do is find color number 11 here. We're going to click on color 11, which is this one. Hold on, I'm a little confused. Yeah, so we're going to move this one up so that our remaining artwork here, color number 3, stitches out last. So we're going to click on color number 11. We're going to drag it above color number 4. So just right here above color number 4, and that's going to change where that is. The next thing we're going to do is click on color number, we needed to drag that one above color number 3. I'm going to drag it back down here above color number 3. Got a little confused here. We're going to click on color 5 here in the sequence, and we're going to drag it above color number 4. So we're going to come up here above color number 4 and put it here. Now we're going to double check that our sequence is correct. Don't mess it up like I did. So what you're going to do that is you're going to click all items. You're going to right click on it, and we're going to select collapse all. And that's going to make a nice little view here for us. And we're going to just double check the border. So we want to stitch out that deep ocean first, which is our tack down. And we're going to stitch out our next color, which is going to be our quilting stitches. And we're going to stitch out the small block, the larger square. We're going to stitch out petals of our flower, the leaves of our flower, and lastly, the stem of our flower. So if all that looks okay, we're ready to create our applique now. But to do that, we're going to use a little trick here. We're first going to come in here and we're going to hide the first 2 items, and we're going to hide them by clicking on the little eyeball icons here. So we're going to click the first one and click the second one, and that's going to make our stitches for the quilting stitch and our tack down stitch go away. And now, if we click all items, whatever we do now will not affect these first 2 items, but will affect everything else. So it's just kind of an interesting way of selecting everything except the background and the tack down stitch. So we can now convert them to applique with a single click. So I'm going to click all items, and I'm going to come up here and I'm going to convert them to applique by clicking my applique icon. And that's going to come around and convert all of these to appliques. So you can see that we've converted everything to applique with one click. And we have a problem here and there, and the one we can see right now is right down here. You can see this corner is not a point. That's because over here in our applique, default corner type is square. We want it to be extended so that all of the points are points instead of squared off like that. So we're going to change the corner type from square to extended, and at the same time we're going to reduce our density from 0.4 to 0.5 so that the satin stitches won't be quite as dense. So you want to just type a 0.5 in there instead and click apply. And when you do that, it will reduce the density, and you can see it corrected a lot of our stitches here so that how they look like points rather than sawed off there at the end. What we need to do now is we need to, and I'm going to click off so you can see all the colors here. We need to correct some things with this design because this was not designed to be an applique to begin with. It was designed to be a quilt block. And what's going to happen here, especially in here and in here, is that these blocks have stitches that are on the same line as these particular pieces do. So what we need to do is we need to eliminate the duplicate satin stitches that are here and all the way around here. I'm going to zoom in to the first one we want to work on here, which is going to be our little square. So you can see, I don't know how well you can see this in the webinar, but you can see that these yellow lines are overlapping the orange ones, and we want to eliminate the extra yellow. And so the way we're going to do that is we need to work on the applique. And if we click on that applique and we click on the plus icon next to it, you can see that right now it's a single applique. And that applique consists of our placement line, our tack down line, and our satin or steel stitch to hide through the edge of the fabric. We need to work on independent pieces of this. So the way we do that is we right click on it and we come up to here and say break up path. When we do that, you can see that now we have all the individual pieces of that applique we can manipulate separately. Now we want to leave the placement line, we want to leave the tack down line. All we want to do is adjust this applique stitch. So you're going to do that by clicking on the applique there. And to do this, we're going to actually split it up into two parts. You do that by coming over and clicking our shape tool. And when we do that, we no longer have the stitches selected, but we have the outline of this applique selected. These little blue squares here, these are called the nodes, defining that square shape. And you can see when I move the cursor close to it, you can see that we get a little blue dot. That says anytime that blue dot appears, if I click now, I will affect that blue dot. So what you want to do is get close to the lower right-hand blue dot, right-click it, and select Split Line. You want to repeat that procedure with the dot up here at the upper left. So we're going to right-click one more time and select Split Line. And you see when we did that, we've now created two appliques here, and we want to delete the second one. So you want to click on sequence color number 6 here, that second applique. So this one over here, and to delete it, just come up here to our cut icon and click it once. And now we will only stitch out this part of the steel or satin stitch here, but we left our placement and our tack down lines going all the way around the square. Now I'm going to zoom out by double clicking the zoom tool. Automatically, this next one we want to work on got selected because it's next in the sequence. And we're going to now eliminate all of its satin stitches because it's bordering all these other satin stitches. Now again, we want to leave its placement and its tack down line. So it's this item right here, color number 4. We're going to right click on it and we're going to say break up path. And then we're going to expand it by clicking this little plus icon. We're going to come down and click the applique section, which is now just our steel stitch. And we're going to delete that by coming up here to our cut icon, our scissors, click that, and now we've eliminated all the overlapping satins. The last thing we need to do is we need to eliminate a lot of the bulk that's going to happen when these stitches in this intersection here overlap. So to do that, you want to get your zoom tool, and we're going to get it. Okay, there we go. And zoom in so we can see what's going on. You can now see in here that all of these stitches are overlapping, and that's going to create a problem when we go to stitch this out. In fact, there could be so many stitches in here we might even break a needle. So we're going to remove those extra stitches. So to do this, we're going to use another trick in our sequence view to dim out the things that might distract us. And the way we're going to do that is come over here to All Items, and we're going to right-click on it, and we are going to say Hide All. So first of all, we're going to hide everything, which is going to make everything go away. And then we're going to come back and click All Items again. I'm right-clicking it, and now we're going to say Fade Hidden. So now instead of everything being totally disappeared, everything is faded out. And I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this, but I've got really faint lines here where I can see my stitches. Now I don't want everything faded out. I want to actually work on parts of this. So I'm going to come down here for color number 11, which is our green Floriani moss. And that's where our leaves are that we need to eliminate the overlap for. So I'm going to click on the little eyeball here for that particular color, and now I've changed the state of these guys back to unhidden, so now I can work on them. So what we're going to do now is click on the plus sign here to open up the two appliques that we have here, and I'm going to select the first applique, which is index number 10, and that selects this upper one here. And we're going to use the same technique we did before when we split up that little square. We're going to split this one up, and this time we're going to split it into two parts. We're going to leave the applique open here and delete the part that's down here. Well, again, we're going to do that by clicking on our shape tool, and this time we're actually going to create a split line at a point where there's no node. So what you want to do is you want to kind of line up where this satin stitch overlaps, come in here to the purple line, right click and say split line, and that'll put a node there and split the line. Do the same thing with the other line right in here, right click and say split line, and when it does that, it's actually going to split it into two pieces. Now it looks like that second piece disappeared, but trust me, it's still there. If you come down to the applique selections, you can see now we've got 3 appliques here in color number 11, and it's also sequence number 11. So if you click on it, you can see now it's selected some stitches in there, and we're actually going to delete the whole thing. We can just delete all of that applique by clicking on our scissors tool. We're going to repeat the procedure now with the second one. The second applique should automatically get selected. If it doesn't, go ahead and click sequence number 11 there. And we're going to come back and click our shape tool one more time. And this time, we want to delete it lined up with this satin stitch down here, which is hidden. But if you can't see it very well, you can use the top one here as a guide. They're pretty well lined up. So you're going to come up to the top, kind of lined up with this one, right click and say split line, repeat it right below it, say split line, and that's going to split it into 2 again. Now what you want to do is come back to your sequence view, and this is where it can get a little confusing. Sometimes the software will make this applique number 11 and this one that's hidden over here number 12, and sometimes it will reverse them. So you can tell which one it is by looking at the stitches over here. In your written instructions, we did this a bunch of times, and it always came up number 11, so we changed it to number 11, but this time, as is Murphy's Law, it came up to number 12 this time. You can tell which one you want to delete because the one you want to delete's got the only 9 stitches in it, so it's down here. So select, in this case, sequence number 12, and then just come up here and click your cut icon. Remember, if yours comes up different, don't delete the big satin stitches over here. Just make sure you delete the little ones. And that pretty much does it for completing the work on this block. I'm going to come back up here so we can see what it looks like. I'm going to select all items. I'm going to right click and I'm going to uncheck fade hidden, or I could actually instead right click and say show all, and so there's our block. And what you would do now is you want to save this block, so you want to come up here to your save tool and click save. And where you put it is up to you, but I'm going to put it here in the June 2014 Mdq project folder, and you can see I already have 2 different applique flower blocks saved in here. Now when you download the project, it's going to give you a completed block. It's going to give you an optional completed block that we'll talk about in a second. But if you want to save the one that you did, just name it something different. So I'm going to name it My Applique Flower Block. And email OCK and click save. Now that's going to save it in a C2S format. You want to get in the habit of saving it in the C2S format because that's where you retain all of the information, like what's an applique, etc., what's a background stitch, so you can work on it more. So save it in the C2S, but in order to stitch it out on your machine, you're going to have to save it in your machine format. To do that, come up here to File, click Save As this time, and now you change this drop down to select your machine. So for example, if we had this Baby Lock Brother Bernina machine in the PES format, we'll go ahead and save it in PES version 9. Select that, click Save, and now I've got a machine file which I would transfer to a stick or however you get your files to your machine. And that completes the software section. We're going to come back to this if we have some time at the end and show you an optional thing we're going to do, but I want to make sure we get the stitch out instructions in. So we're going to start with that PowerPoint again, and we're going to skip through this. You already saw this. Again, this is by Rita Gazard. Here's what the final project is going to look like. Let's talk about what the materials are that you're going to need for this. You're going to need some Floriani embroidery batting, and you're also going to need some Floriani wet and gone tacky tape in the 1-inch width. You're going to need some Floriani Applique Wonder tape in the 1/4-inch width. You're going to need some RMK embroidery perfection tape. Now that's an optional item. I prefer to use that. It's not totally necessary. You only need to take down one thing and it's going to get tacked down with a stitch right away. But if you want to make sure that everything works correctly, get that RMK embroidery perfection tape and tape it down. And you're going to need an 8-inch hoop, 200 millimeter by 200 millimeter minimum size. You're going to need Floriani embroidery or Floriani quilting thread. Either one, it's up to you, however you want to do it. But if you're going to use quilting thread, be sure to use a number 9014 Floriani chrome embroidery needle in your machine so that the thread flows through without binding up and breaking. And lastly, you're going to need fabric. So you're going to need some yellow, orange, and pink fabric. You're going to need a 1/8 yard piece of each of those colors. You're going to need a 1/4 yard of the green, and you're going to need 1 1/3 yards of ivory. And of course, these are the color choices that are in the software, but feel free to use any color choices that you like the look of the fabric on. Now, you're going to need to pre-cut these fabrics into smaller pieces so that you can apply them as appliques. And we don't have time to go through all of those cutting instructions, so you're going to have to refer to the print or PDF instructions that will get downloaded with the project for the fabric cutting instructions. So just follow the instructions that are there. Now, as we go through this, and as you stitch this out, it's important to remember that we're going to be referring in this presentation to the different colors as they were saved in the design, but the color names are probably going to look different on your machine. Don't flip out about that. Just get the sequence down and you'll be fine. We have a lot of color changes in here, and those color changes are there to make the machine stop sewing. That's real important when you're doing appliques because you're going to stop sewing in between each applique and take it out of the machine and put your applique fabric down and trim your applique fabric. So those color changes are there to make the machine stop. Remember that if you have a multi-needle machine, you're going to need to insert reserve stops for each color so that it does stop. And we've got a lot of different thread colors in here. If you don't want to use all those different thread colors, you just want to use one color throughout or a couple colors throughout, that's okay. Just don't change the color when the machine tells you to change the color. But again, if you have a multi-needle machine, you'll have to use its magic wand function to assign the same color to each color change so that it doesn't try to shift to a different needle. Okay, so let's get ready to embroider. The first thing you're going to do is hoop up a piece of Floriani embroidery batting that's larger than the hoop. Make sure you get it nice and tight in the hoop. You don't need any other stabilizer for this particular design, especially if we're going to use Floriani embroidery batting. Remember, that'll support up to 60,000 stitches without needing any extra stabilizer. It's really, really great stuff. I encourage you to try it. This doesn't have anywhere near that many stitches, but it still is going to work great for this project. The next step is you're going to take your 9-inch square that you would have cut out of the backing of the top back fabric, and you're going to place that on the hoop. And you're going to optionally tape down its corners so that it doesn't shift around on you using that embroidery perfection tape. You're going to load the hoop onto the machine and load the design into the machine. The first color that's going to stitch out is that deep ocean blue color, and all it's going to do is create a stitch that runs around the edge to tack the fabric to the batting. later on, it's also going to serve as our cutting line, which is going to be a great help to us when we want to trim these blocks to size. The next thing we'll stitch out is color number ivory, and that stitches out the quilting stitch. As you can see in the actual design here, we used brown fabric, so we used the brown thread, not ivory, but again, you're going to want to match that up. So you can see here it stitched out those quilting stitches, did not go through our applique is going to be. And then the next step is to stitch out color number yellow. First thing it's going to do is stitch out a placement line, which is going to show us where to place our first applique piece. Now, I want to say something up front right here, that this design is going to use traditional machine or embroidery applique technique of putting the fabric down and taking it out of the machine and cutting it. And we're not going to use Applique Wonder like we did in the last project. If you prefer to use Applique Wonder, you can, but you're going to have to modify the assembly instructions accordingly. But we're not going to use it in this particular project. So after it stitches out the line, place that piece of fabric down using the stitches as a guide. Next, start the machine up again. It's going to stitch the tack down line. After it stitched that tack down line, take the hoop out of the machine, but do not remove the design from the hoop. Don't move the block from the hoop. And take your applique scissors and trim as close as you can to that tack down line. When you've done that, put it back in the machine. We're going to continue on with color number 3. It's going to stitch the satin stitch out all the way around. Excuse me, it's not going to go all the way around. It's only going to go on the 2 sides, remember, because we eliminated the 2 sides of this particular stitch. And the next thing we're going to do is stitch out the next color, orange, which is going to stitch out placement line for that center square. And you're going to place the fabric in place. Start the machine up again. It's going to stitch the tack down. Take it out of the machine. Don't unhoop it. Trim it. And this particular block, this particular piece, is not going to have any satin stitch at all. Remember that we eliminated it, and the satin stitch is going to be provided by the adjacent blocks. So that would complete the next color. And then what you want to do is just repeat that sequence with all the remaining colors and fabrics. And you're going to refer to the PDF print instructions for the complete sequence. Now, the machine will step you through it all automatically, but we've got a nice little diagram of all the steps. It actually takes up 2 pages. We've just shown you one of the 2 pages here, but you'll follow along with those PDF or print instructions to complete the block. Once you're done, you're going to remove the block from the hoop, and then you need to repeat that 7 more times. So you're going to do 7 more blocks, and then you're going to trim them all to the edge, and you're going to use that straight stitch as a guide. You're going to trim right along the stitch to trim the block to size, and that's going to create the pattern. Now, you can see here in this block that Rita has done something that we didn't go over, and it looks like we'll have a little extra time to go over that. So we'll do that here in just a second. In fact, I don't really have a way to get back to it, so I'm just going to have to step through the entire presentation here, and then we'll go back and show you the other things. So I apologize for the little sequence here, but we're going to finish the table topper, and you're going to do that by following the instructions, again, in the PDF instructions to assemble and finish up the placemats. Again, we don't have the time to show you all of those steps here on the webinar, so you'll have to refer to the assembly instructions in the table topper. So, thanks for attending. In a few days, like we discussed at the beginning, the video will be available online. It might be available sooner. And you're going to use that video along with the print instructions to recreate this project at home. So I'm going to end that now. We're going to come back and we're going to show you how to put in those stitches that added some extra texture on top of the appliques. I'm going to show you a real quick and easy way to do that. If you load your block up or just continue on with it, and one of the reasons we saved it in the C2S format is so we can continue on with it easy if we wanted to. We're going to add some texture fills or advanced stippling fills inside each one of these pieces. If we just clicked on, say, this particular piece, in fact, let's do it by finding it in the sequence view. Let's come down here, and we know that it's color number 11. So I'm going to select it in the sequence view. That's going to select these two leaves, and we're going to apply the same texture to both of them. But if we just apply texture to this now with our texture or our advanced stippling, we'd actually get rid of the applique because it's going to convert that applique into the advanced texture. We want to leave that applique. So what we want to do, the trick is, we're going to copy and paste it. So we're going to click copy, and we're going to click paste. And so now we've got duplicates on top. They're automatically selected. If you look over here, instead of having 2 appliques, now we have 4 appliques. We're going to convert these second 2 appliques that we just created into our advanced stippling. So to do that, we're going to come up here to our advanced stippling icon, click advanced stippling. You can choose any advanced stippling motif that you like. I'm going to just choose this butterfly and click OK. And it's going to create that texture fill. Okay, there we go. It's going to create that advanced stippling or texture fill in those blocks. And if I click off on it, you can see it's the same color as the satin stitch. So that's going to match up really well. If you want it to be a separate color, come over here and select the complex fills, which are now these textures, and change the thread color. Easy enough to do. Let me show that to you one more time. Let's work on this guy down here, which is our stem, and we'll come down to our sequence view, select our stem, we'll select copy, we'll select paste, so we have copy of it, and then let's use an advanced texture. So we're going to come in here to our texture fills. Let's select texture number 111 and click OK, and we'll put that texture in down here. Now feel free to either leave the textures out, and you might want to if you've got pattern fabric. But if you want to make your project look just like it is in the pictures, this is the technique to do. And again, if you look in your design library, you'll see that there's also a block there with your advanced textures. And again, if you wanted to stitch this out, you would save it in the C2S format, and then you would save it again in your machine format. And so that completes the webinar. I want to thank everybody for attending. I hope it wasn't too confusing when I messed up the sequence. But come back next month, and we'll be doing another exciting project with My Decorative Quilter.